You know what I'm saying? People can say they love you, but it's all about who do you show up for? And that's anybody, including me. If I ever told you I love you, but did I show up for you when you needed it? That is what's important, I feel like. And I think a lot of people say I love you to get people to say it back to them. And they don't necessarily mean that shit, you know? Like we're so desperate to be loved in this society or feel needed for that matter. We want love, but we want it from everywhere except from where it really counts, and that's on the inside. And I'm one of those people that kept looking for this shit elsewhere externally.
Roll me, Mac.
How have your views on love changed over time? Well, in the beginning, sound like a fucking narrator to a movie, but in the beginning of it, my experience with it, I believe, was coming from a very fictitious, fantasy-based idea of what love is, right? Just that fairy tale feeling from all Disney movies, all TV shows, even movies that were, that I saw as far as how love is supposed to be, this feeling that you're supposed to get, how, fairy tale endings and what have you. Like I said, very much this beta-tized way of looking at the way love was for me. Life would show me differently. As I kept trying to create that, I was being a more feminine version of me when it came to love. And as we know it, women do not want to be with a man who essentially acts and is feminine. It's not desirable, it's unattractive. So what that means is that when I would get into relationships, I would turn into this little boy. Just trying to be so consumed with love that my mind wasn't focused anywhere else. My grades would fall. I wasn't focusing on the job. I stopped going to the gym. I did so many things that put her first before myself, let alone purpose. Purpose wasn't even an idea, an understanding for me back then. Let's just call it adolescent years. So from just becoming of age, young, middle school, high school, all of that, there was this view on love that, it was just, I like you, you like me, I love you. It's not, there's no build up, there's no learning how to love you. And that would be something I learned later on, which I'll touch on. But for now, in this stage, it's very much like a puppy love, fictitious, not understanding emotion, not understanding myself. I don't even know how to love myself, to let alone love someone else. And then just being very happy about it. It's like, I found this girl. There's no other girl like her. She's the greatest thing ever. And that comes from saying that multiple times about a few of the girls that I would date in my younger days, and early Air Force days, and just teenage stuff, 20s. All of that, there was this idea of love. And once the idea was shattered by the reality of what that person, how she carried herself, I didn't know how to, return back to those emotions that I once felt for this perceived idea of who she is, this perceived person who I love. So I really was just in love with my imagination. And I look at that, okay, I wanted this person to be this character for me, it would complete my life, and I would feel like it was love because I could control her. You know, I could control the situation. I was trying to control everything around me. And with that love, you know, that's not what, essentially, I don't believe that's what love is. And that aspect of control. Now, there's certain things that I believe for a man in this frame does have to have a sense of control with, but not in this way. This is living in fear. This isn't living in love. This is living in fear, what I was doing. Trying so hard to be loved, and I'm scrutinizing the person because they don't love the way I want them to do it. So I'm not able to receive the love that they're giving because there's this idea of it that I have in my mind, and you're not doing what's in my mind. But I also didn't give you the script, you know, to that. So that love I look at early on was just chasing a fantasy, right? It was just chasing a fantasy. And then once you've had your heart broken because this person distorted your illusions of what love is, and they made a decision that was best for them, now you're bitter as fuck. Here comes the 20s. Here comes the mid-20s. And the mid-20s on love is like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not getting into love. I'm not getting myself hurt. I'm going to keep my distance. You know what I mean? I'm going to be this angry ass individual who very much projected his pain, who was constantly yelling, constantly throwing tantrums, constantly wanting whoever that woman was to be my parent, wanting her to parent my emotions, wanting her to parent me, calm me down, make me feel better, all of that, you know. And they were in their trauma as well, like me. So what I guess I reminded them of something that they had in the past, so they tried to fix what could not be fixed. At least not by them. I had to do it for myself. But this is this bitter stage, and I'm just projecting my pain onto these women, you know, these young ladies, and I'm just hurt. I don't know why I'm hurt, but I'm just hurt, and I keep projecting this shit, and I don't believe in the concept, the ability to love. I believe I'm unlovable at this point. So now I'm just lashing out at everything, and anyone that tries to love me, I'm pushing it the fuck away on purpose. I'm not gonna allow you close enough to see me. I really is, you know, I'm mature enough now emotionally to look back and be like, that's what was going on. I didn't want you to see me for all of me, because I felt that I was unlovable, and I was trying to create conditional love in that regards. So it was a moment. It was definitely a moment. It's a lot of push and pull, you know, anxious avoidant love style, you know what I'm saying, where you know what I mean, you make yourself out to be the victim. When they're around, you push them away. And then when they don't come back, then it's like, see, I know they was gonna abandon me like everybody else type thing. But you created that. You created that narrative for yourself. You know, we become what we think about. You made your own reality by carrying yourself in that way. And you just didn't realize there was nobody there to teach you how to deal with your emotions. And I was a lot of entitlement for a while. I felt entitled to a woman to be like, to know how to deal with me, even when I didn't know how to deal with me. I felt entitled to a woman that understood me. I felt entitled to being looked after, looking for a mom, right? Looking to create the nest again, you know, of what it was growing up, and being that cared for kid. But in relationships, things, you become the caretaker, right? As a man, you become the caretaker. If you're going to hold the frame, you know, as I speak of all the time, it is on you as a man to hold said frame, to manage your emotions, to be the one to express your emotion, but just not be emotional is the objective. But I didn't know that back then. I wasn't keen on that. I was lost. I'll say that. I was definitely lost. I was scared. I was in my emotions on a lot of shit. I was a ticking time bomb. I was not somebody you wanted to get too close to. I would explode at the most minuscule shit because I was in that much pain. I was living in fear, definitely living in a lot of fear. And I know that, there's PTSD with that, both military and what I believe, I experienced as coming up also played a factor into that, not wanting to let people get close, not believing that a woman is going to be around, she's going to stick around and all that other shit. But, it's just living in fear, afraid of losing something. So I'm going to leave before you do. And that was living in fear, and then you go a couple years and then you go for something that's very familiar. So like with this love, now I believe love exists because I'm finally getting what I asked for. And boy, did I get what I asked for. So, and now in this scenario, I'm with someone that I idealized for a long time, right? And this is back to idealization when it comes to love. So now I'm in this relationship and I go on how this person looks, not so much how they treated me, how they valued me or didn't value me rather. And I was going to make them love me. I was going to be whatever it is that she wanted me to be, so that we can achieve love, because it was back then I believed that I had to work for love, because in my mind she was better than me. When it comes to love, everyone's better than me. I don't deserve love and all this other shit. So I'm going to give you my all. I'm giving you my best. I'm gonna give you everything I've got. And it wasn't well received. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. And back then, I honestly thought that I'm just not lovable. I'm not. It's just not in the cards for me. This is ego, obviously, we know. You're on top of the world, or the world's on top of you. That's how you know when your ego is talking. And I was just like, I'll never feel this way again. I will never allow myself to be this way over a woman ever again. And I mean that by where I don't take care of myself. Like I lost myself trying to gain just an ounce of love from said person. You know what I mean? Like I was young, I didn't know, I was just starving for love, and that's really all that mattered. I had done whatever it took to get that person's validation, which is really just a mirror of your childhood. Just trying to get that validation, and when you grow up that way, you end up going towards personalities that mirror such, where you feel like you have to be validated so much by this person. You give them so much power over yourself. You gave that power away. I gave my power away. And after a while, that shit turned into resentment. And that's where I bring myself back to that statement. I will never allow myself to get to this point, because I essentially lost it for a little bit. I had lost faith in the fact that love even exists, just in general, for me. Like, something about me is just not in the cards for it. And of course, again, this is the beta mindset that I was having, but truth be told, I don't believe that person knew how to love themselves. So how could she love me? For that matter, we know it. I shown myself that I didn't know how to love myself. So what you had was two people in a trauma bond. Two people that didn't know how to love themselves. Two people that did not feel they deserved love, so they self-sabotage. I lost myself trying to get love from somebody, and that person just kept pushing me away because it seemed too good to be true. Because of how I carried myself, because I would have done anything. I made sure that I tried to be perfect for somebody. You know what I mean? And what you'll learn is that there is no perfection. There is no perfection. It's progress, right? But remembering to just be human. So in all those views, like I went from idealizing love. I went from rebelling against love. And then I went from this idea of idealization part 2, where, love, this is it. I'm going to do away with all this. My life is this is going to be my life, right? And all things are going to be well. Got the girl that I, fantasized about, all these years, when I was living in Miami. And then I got what I asked for. Let's just say that. Challenging personality. Very challenging. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't love myself enough, so I tolerated and I endured a lot of stuff that I had no business enduring. And I just took it because that's what a man does. That's what I was taught to believe, that this is how a man is supposed to just take it. He's just supposed to take shit just to show that he loves you. It will never happen again. It won't ever happen again. And not on being not rebellious, not being pissed off. It's just a place of loving yourself. And what I did was I showed how much I did not love myself, as well as she did too, show how much she didn't love herself. So, I mean, we were just, like I said, we're just emotionally immature kids in a relationship. And it took a lot out of me. It really did. And I understand why I had to go through it. Looking back, grateful for the experience and what it taught me, as well as what I imagine it taught her as well. But the views on love, right? Now it's different. Now my views on love go from that kiddie Disney World shit that I once believed in about what I believe love is. Now it's more so understanding that men and women don't love the same. And knowing that men and women don't love the same, it is to become what how a man can be loved in a relationship with a woman. And so understanding that and working your best at that every day. Understanding that men are loved based off what they can do, and obviously women, children, and dogs, pets are loved unconditionally. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. But is it a perspective? Sure, it's my perspective. I mean, some may not believe that, but life will show it. Life has definitely shown such a thing, so it's like, all right, how does one carry himself? Like, you know this information, but you also don't treat people with resentment over it. You just understand that this is the way it is. This is the way that it is. And you still have a job to do as a man, as far as loving your tribe, loving that woman that's in your life at that point in time, loving your family, but also remembering to love yourself first, and to protect yourself at all times. Guard your heart, above all else, and so when you experience someone that does not value you, you're able to recognize it, and then you can either check it or you can check out. One of the two. If you decide, that's really all it is to it. And it took time. It really did took time to get to grasp that, but to really know how to manage emotions, to know how to express yourself in a mature fashion and not throw a tantrum. Do your best not to shut down, when it comes to conversation. But I mean, the views of love, they shifted. As I got older, I saw things a little bit differently. And I do my best to not put anybody on a pedestal anymore. And I think that was the biggest thing, is that something was greater than love itself. And it's not. And it's enough to just be human. And I believe that's what I've learned the most of it, is just people are people are human. And you just have to love yourself more than others love you. In the sense of being able to protect yourself when you can recognize when someone doesn't value you, right? And there's no hard feelings. It's not that I don't love you, it's just that I love me more. And there's a level of protection that comes with that. And having the courage to walk away from what no longer serves you, what does not value you, and still be able to say I love you to them, but it's not serving me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, to me, love isn't about suffering, in that aspect. I mean, everyone is going to hurt you, as Bob Marley says. It's just figuring out the ones who are worth suffering for. I'm saying that people are going to get hurt, right? And it's all about how they hurt you. And I think that's the bigger thing to me, is how you go about doing it. It's just, like I said, it just varies. It's really hard to explain that, but we're all still growing. I think another issue is that fools rush in, as the cliche quote is. It's like when you feel such a strong feeling about somebody, you just want to rush into it. You want to just jump into things, and you haven't necessarily thought about it thoroughly before deciding, is this person, and are we compatible, enough to go the long range? Yeah, we might have short-term compatibility, chemistry, but from a long-term standpoint, is this something that I believe this person complements my life? It's a question to be asked. It's a question to be had. It's something to keep in your mind at all times and observe. Is this something that you're willing to deal with for the long run? Long-term investment of that. So, because people change over the years, and you have to ask yourself, are you willing to go through those changes with that person as they go through their changes? Is that something that you guys are to experience together, or do you grow apart? I mean, love is interesting. I mean, you can love someone that you're not with anymore. I mean, you don't lose that love, that feeling. Of course, you just had respect for yourself. And the same thing with family. I mean, you can love your family, but if you're not valued and you're not respected by this family, then it's okay if you want to drift away and do your own thing. You kind of you're trying to protect yourself, and because I don't believe we're running from the people. I believe we're running from pain. And when we're around what this represents, like, now this person no longer represents what I thought they were, like a person. Now I see pain. I feel pain in your energy when I'm around you, and I don't want to kind of be around that. But I mean, my views on love just obviously have shifted throughout the years, and I once was in a resentful space. I don't believe I'm in a resentful space when it comes to love now. Am I totally trusting when it comes to love? Not necessarily. There's still things to be worked on when it comes to that, because people are people, and eventually they'll show you how much work they need to be done on themselves. So it's like, take your time with it. You know, so like I said, fools rush in. But yeah, over time, thinking about what love has meant, I mean, the views on it have certainly shifted. I just believe for the better now. In the spirit of Black History Month, who in Black history inspired you? Well, from a celebrity standpoint or entertainment standpoint, most definitely Michael Jackson was inspired me as a kid. I wanted to do everything that was Michael, sing in front of thousands, millions of people. I wanted to make people feel happy around me, similar to kind of what he, what I believe he did. I mean, I had inspirations. Truth be told, I had a lot of inspirations around me. My parents inspired me in a lot of ways. I'll say that musically, I'm definitely heavily influenced by I would say more so my dad, because he listened to more music, but certainly my mother too. When it came to gospel and certain forms of R&B, namely R&B like Luther and Natalie Cole was very much more an inspiration that came from my mom, like my mom and shit. When it came to funk bands, when it came to jazz, that was my father's doing. I was heavily inspired by that, and work ethic. I mean, they've been working hard since I've known them. You know what I mean? Like the hours put in to go to the job. I mean, driving an hour to get to work for your kids, and trying to be there for you, like for your kids' needs and shit. Like that was the inspiration for me. I never saw them really complain about having to get up and go to work. So, I mean, I look at that as inspiration to Black people, my parents, and what they were able to do for me. Who else inspires me when it comes to, I admired, was it James Baldwin? Yeah, James Baldwin. I kind of studied his material during COVID a lot, and I applauded how much he believed in what he thought, and he always challenged the minds of those around him. And same can be said about that of a Tupac Shakur, and not so much for like the music is one thing, but just the character. He had many sides, many characters came with Pac, but more so the one that spoke about change within the Black community, within the world for that matter. Being able to, like, one of the dopest quotes to me is like, I may not change the world, but I may spark the brain that will change the world. To grow up as the kid of, the son of a Panther, and having that influence of wanting to be heard, and having something to say that made people listen, and saying it in a way that made people listen. I was very much, I say I'm inspired by that now. Growing up was more like, like little kid shit, just inspired by the likes of like a Timberland and Babyface, because they were music producers, and I wanted to do music at one point in time. And like I said, basketball wise, it was you had Michael, Scottie. So Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, I found to be very inspirational, but also just coming from our area, Allen Iverson for sure was an inspiration. I wouldn't necessarily say it was my favorite player, but the fact that somebody from our area made it, and to the degree in which he made it, that was inspiring for me. Like I said, I was never, I'll be the first. I'm not going to pretend like, because he was popular that I knew everything about Allen Iverson. I knew he had cornrows. I liked his shoes, but it was more so the fact that he showed that somebody from the 757 could make it on a major scale, and which he did. And so that to me is very inspirational. In comedy, I mean, the list is so long for my inspirations in comedy. There is, but the main ones, you go to Keenan Ivory Wayans for being able to build a platform to where his entire family could build from within Living Color. Martin Lawrence for sure. Martin doing the same thing. Martin was very big on showing appreciation for those who paved the way before him. Like, if you watch the Martin show, you'll see a lot of people come on there, and he had certain episodes dedicated to paying homage to those that came before us. Like, the Players Ball one is it's kind of like when he plays Jerome, and there's Rudy Ray Moore, there is Huggy Bear, from Starsky and Hutch. There's there's Superfly, the original Superfly. All of them, Pam Grier, all these people that paved the way for blacks and through blaxploitation films to get that recognition that wasn't accepted and essentially in white Hollywood, white America, white entertainment, period. So I look at somebody like Martin in the sense where he wanted to use his platform to help others out. It's the gift that kept on giving. Eddie Murphy, same thing. Eddie Murphy was able to make a movie. It's not even one of my favorites, of Eddie, but Harlem Nights. Harlem Nights is a movie that has a lot of the comedy greats, the people that influenced him. Richard Pryor, Red Fox, they were all in the film, and they paved the way for Eddie. They paved the way for Martin, but to see it happen, to influence, man. I mean, and then if I think about another movie I found to be very inspirational because of the amount of people that were in it for comedy was Life. Like Eddie. I'm talking about Eddie Murphy, Bernie Mac, Anthony Anderson, a young Anthony Anderson. It's just a list of people in comedy working together and just displaying their different skills. So I'm very much inspired by that. I was very much inspired by the people that I really wanted to do that. And at one point in time, I really wanted to be in comedy. I really wanted to be a comedy writer. I wanted to play in the NBA. So my height didn't necessarily make the cut for where I wanted to go in the NBA, and I didn't have the drive. I didn't give myself the drive. I felt entitled that I didn't have to work so hard, and I still could make it to the NBA. That's not how it works. But inspiration in Black history, I take back to like my family. I was inspired in the Air Force by my uncle. My Uncle Tracy was very much a big inspiration for me because he was in the Air Force like me. So I was like, okay, he's doing these things. He has his family, and they're able to do so many things together, and that's what I wanted. I really did want that. I wanted to do everything all family. Shit. Again, idealization, right or wrong. That's initially what I wanted to do. But what they did was they gave me hope. They gave me hope to do the things that I was trying to do, to try to be funny, trying to be good at basketball, whatever it was. I mean, I was inspired by that, and even that of like Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice, because football too. When football came along, those were the people that I turned to. I look at another inspiration for me is Ayanla. Yeah, Dr. Ayanla. She was an inspiration for me when it came to that of mental health, man. I didn't have an understanding from it, especially with that Black lens, And during COVID, I watched a lot of her Ayanla Fix My Life, and just having Black families come on here and talk about common things that go on, not just in Black families, but the fact that these Black families are here talking about mental health and going through issues, things that went down in the family, and the perspective of being able to reach a young Black man in his relationship with his mom, or young Black girl, her relationship with her father. It opened my eyes to a whole lot of things, and just how everything is all really connected within mental health. But I mean, it is very much an inspiration. Dare I say, back to music, inspired by the maestro, Barry White. That's all connected to my dad and music. But, I listened to a lot of Barry when I was in the house. But then, of course, I got to engage with his music a lot more once I became an adult in the military. And that was like my soundtrack, listening to these guys. I wanted to listen to those that, that kind of reminded me of home. And New Edition, New Edition was very inspirational for me too, because that was joy that I got, in music was from them. Ralph Tresvant. I wanted to be Ralph at one point in time. Just a lead singer, and I just thought he was the coolest. Just comedy, music, sports. That's what inspired me. It inspired me in many ways. Back when I used to, be attached to my celebrities and entertainers and all that shit. Those are the ones that that did it for me. They kept me believing that, I could do something. And even, dare I say, pastor growing up, Pastor Mariner back in, in Portsmouth, Grove Baptist Church, like just how he was, how he carried himself, how he treated us as kids, youth, and then, to have that same respect for him as an adult, and see him now, he's now a granddad, and and me being, an adult myself now, it's just that appreciation for the guidance outside of, having to preach and stuff like that. But when he would talk to us after service, and remember saying some ignorant shit, excuse my language, Pastor, if you see this, but saying some ignorant shit to, like a little kid, teenage stuff, but now to be a grown up and have that appreciation for showing, leading a flock, unapologetically flawed, of course, and being able to accept others, be able to embrace others, and like they don't feel judged, they don't feel crucified or scrutinized and made to be less than because they've committed error. That's one thing that I can appreciate about Pastor Mariner for that. You can be accepted in church. You can be accepted, right? Don't get me wrong. There's some people that definitely was, criticized. They definitely criticized you, and they made comments, rude comments about you, whether you were, young boy, messing with them fast girls and all that other shit. But there was a level of acceptance, man. And of course, growth was very, I played an important part in that maturity too. But in those moments and all those things and everything that's just been shared, that was the inspiration. That's what, in Black History Month, that's what I find inspiration. Like the people that I actually knew, and then also the people that, you saw on TV. And it played a part in, I'll say, the person that I am in present day me. But that, to me, that's my inspiration when it comes to Black history. What's one thing you never get tired of talking about? I got two, actually, tied. Football and, of course, mental health. I can talk football with the best of them. To me, it's the most important game for me to watch because it teaches life. I believe football teaches life. How you carry yourself on the field is more than likely how you carry yourself in person. If you cheat around in life, you take shortcuts, you're more than likely want to take shortcuts on the field. If you are somebody that puts in a lot of work and hard work and work ethic on the field, more than likely you do that in real life as well. So it just teaches character, it teaches teamwork, it teaches brotherhood for that matter. So there's that. Of course, mental health. Well, the reason why I never get tired of talking about mental health, it's in every fucking thing you talk about. It doesn't matter what you try, you can try to get away from it, but there's a mental health aspect that is closely related to pretty much everything that you discuss. You know what I mean? But like I said, I never get tired of having those conversations. I know people around me might get tired of hearing that shit. So I have to be very mindful of how much I discuss it, or how, as far as like who I'm around to discuss it. Not everybody wants to discuss mental health. Some people like to talk surface shit. And for that, I'll just listen or, chime in with stuff that I know that's on the surface. Truthfully, I prefer much deeper conversations. But the two things that I never get tired of talking about is football and mental health. What's a tradition or ritual that is important to you? Well, to learn something new every day. What I love about learning something new every day is that you may find some information that you might have been holding on to, attached to for the longest, and then you come across something that challenges that idea, that thought of what you thought about it, and then you have to ask yourself, do you stay with the idea that you had before, or do you learn a new way of doing it? Do you evolve? Are you able to take on this information that's been given to you now and then be like, you know what, I'm going to adapt. I'm not going to think the same shit that I once thought before. But yeah, just to be able to learn something every day. Ritual. I start the day, of course, with positive affirmations. I'll read whatever the day is. I'll read. I'll listen rather to Proverbs for that particular day. So like, what's today? Like the 11th, like playing Proverbs 11 and letting it play. And then switching over to the positive affirmation, like positive people that have gone through heartbreak, people that have gone through letdown, people that have gone through despair, people that have been fucked over, people that want to inspire others along the journey. Like those are the people that get me going. And I try to give it back to the universe by doing the same thing for those around me, for those who watch the show, and just in general, to not look at things from a negative standpoint, to look at things from a positive standpoint. But the ritual of just learning something new and doing your best to not take don't take anything personal, man. And just look at new information and just seeing that some people really do want to be right so fucking bad, and thriving on more so from perspective than it is of having the need to be right. And it's okay to get new information, but having that perspective to me is just more, it's just, I appreciate that more than trying to prove to everyone that I'm right because I got this information. Like, oh wow, this is what I learned on this particular thing. Now, if it's a fact, it's a fact. Historical fact or whatever, like historically, my name is, my birth name is John Rob McAllister III. You can look that up. That is a fact. There's not going to be a perspective. Well, nope, actually your name is this. No, there's no other way around it. That's my fucking name. But when you learn something, you learn a view, a theory, and shit changes over time, then it's like, okay, I can now apply this. But like I said, I love to learn every day. I love to learn. I do my best to try to learn the things that I do on a day-to-day basis. If it's learning how to be masculine, if it's learning how to be more masculine, if it's learning what frame means, if it's learning what it means to manage your emotions, if it means to not take things personal, what if it means to live in love and not live in fear. Like, what do these things mean? And how they benefit, and wanting to pass on that information to my fellow man and fellow woman. And then the alignment with God and the universe, the gods, whatever you believe in, you know what I'm saying? It's all connected. But to have that alignment, right? And you can feel yourself getting off course. I don't care who you are. Once you've been in line with the universe, you get a feeling that you're off course, and it is up to you to decide to get back on course. And what I've learned about it is just whatever you put out there is what you're going to get back. There's no getting around it. You can call it karma, whatever you want to call it, but whatever energy you put out is what you're going to receive. If you put out negative shit towards people, negative energy is going to come back to you. If you put out positive energy towards people, positive energy will come back to you. It may not come from the people that you are targeting to receive that positive energy from the sense of like conditional love. I'm doing this so that you can do this for me. Instead of it's going to come back just some way. So it's like having courage to still live in positivity, but also having the guard and the know-how and the notion to not allow a person to continuously, cause harm to you, whether that be purposely or not purposely. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot from experience, and people are, understanding that takers don't have limits. So like if you're a constant giver, you constantly give, and you're dealing with takers, they don't know any limits, so it's just knowing when you're around those type of people that are just relentless. They're just going to keep taking and taking and taking. But having that boundary goes a long way, and that's what I'm grateful for learning, is learning that too, learning what it means to have healthy boundaries on things, what it means to set a precedence with others, to teach people how to treat you, and that's to me, those rituals that I do on a day-to-day basis, they keep me on on guard in a positive way, not to block people out, but to let the appropriate people in. And because before I just it's free, it's open season. It's open season for destruction, whatever you want to do. I just would continuously do nice things for people that had no intention of being nice to me, and that's on me. It doesn't. I'm not a bad person or good person for trying to be nice, but I allowed said behavior to be done to me. So it's like learning to have more healthier boundaries. Like, does this serve me? If it doesn't serve me anymore, then I have to love myself enough to kind of drift away from this energy that's being spewed out at me at this time. And it's not always the easiest. It's not always the most not the easiest choice to make, but it's the most rewarding. I can say that it's definitely the most rewarding. Rituals. Like I said, just learning something new every day. It goes a long way. Trying to read more. There's a time where I wouldn't think about picking up a book, and now I can say I've read over at least 100 books now in my lifetime. more within the last 5 years. But before then, there was no reading, there was no understanding. There was just whatever I got from the people around me growing up. That was my thoughts on shit, and that's what I would spew out. That's the shit I would say. Instead of getting new information, they may challenge what I once knew so that I can now make a better statement about it, a more accurate statement about it, and speak on something that I actually know, not so much speaking on something that I don't know, and being ignorant, which is, very prominent in our society right now, especially in regards to the Super Bowl performer. But I digress. But it's funny to see yourself and laugh at your own ignorance, right? Like you can see yourself in others. And that's why you have grace, because you once, think about a time when you once did those things and that you're pissed off about. Was there a time where you said something that you didn't have all the information to, and you're human? That's okay. You're human. So you're gonna, sometimes as humans, we think we got everything figured out, and then we learn how much we don't have it figured out. And then we can grow from it though. And that's what the experience is for you to grow from, that trial, that test about information. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, then you gotta find another room. Continuously learn how to learn. Fall in love with learning, learn how to love too. That's another thing. Learning how to love someone, goes a long way. Certainly goes a long way. But yeah, the ritual that I follow on a day-to-day basis is to learn something new every day, and I have a system kind of set up so that I can do that, different subjects for the different days. But I think that about sums that up. Thank you guys again for checking out this episode, checking out the content in general, all of this, all this stuff, checking out the YouTube, checking out the TikTok, checking out Facebook. Those are the only ones I have at the moment. If I could help it, I wouldn't want to do social media at all. To me, it's just not much access, but how's anybody going to get to see your product or reach your product if you don't have it? So there's that. But you got to bite the bullet on some things. But I want to thank everybody for the time. If you made it this far into the show to see the ending. But thank you guys again. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. But from Rome Mac here at J.E.T.Sense, as well as Ask Rome, I'm out. Good night, kids.